the right person or in considering the right spouse, know this, that someone is right, going to be right for you, does not mean that the person will exhibit the perfect character or that the person will behave right all the time. There are sometimes the person will behave in a way that you consider as wrong. So just because someone is right for you does not make the person flawless or perfect. Yes, I know that we are perfect in Christ. That doesn't mean that we are humanly perfect. That we are perfect in Christ does not mean that we do not have our imperfections. Because many times when single people make a list of the kind of person they want to marry, sometimes I wonder, does the person live on it? Does the person live on it? Does the person have flesh on their inside? Is the person fleshy in nature? Because you see some kind of qualities that seem so perfect. You know, I remember sometime I met a lady who told me, I can't marry a man that snores. I can't marry a man that doesn't dress well. I can't marry a man that is not neat. I can't marry, what did she say again? I can't marry a man that gets angry sometimes. I'm like, hey, who do you not want to marry? You know, because in a number of singles, just, you know, they meet a person and they just have expectations. It's okay for you to have your preferences, okay for you to have the list of the things, of the qualities that you want in a person, but don't be so conscious, don't be so perfectly conscious that you now make the person you desire to be so perfect. You know, you want that person to be very perfect. There are things you expect, you have expectations, you know, that looks like the person can never make a mistake. The person doesn't have any weakness. For example, when I met my husband, I'm 11 years married, by the way. You should dance for me. 11 years married. No, married, no be beans. 11 years worth celebrating. When I met my husband, he's Christian till date. Very nice and caring, very nice, a giver and all that. But he didn't tick all of the boxes. He didn't tick all the qualities I wanted in a guy. That's the truth. You know, and same with me too. When he met me, yes, Christian till date and all of that. But I didn't tick all the qualities he wanted in a lady. You know, he wanted in a right spouse, in a lady like me. You know, so over the years, we realized that there has been progress, there has been progressive development. There are things that I knew about him 11 years ago or 13 years ago, got courted for about 2 years before I got married. 13 years ago, that is no longer there. You know, so what am I trying to say is you meet someone, you meet your preference, but I'll advise you that you should choose potential over preference. What do I mean? Now, when I met my husband, he's Christian, but I didn't like the fact that he wasn't fluent. I'm sure if you have followed our sermons a lot, you'd have heard it many times. Then my husband was one who wasn't meticulous about his hygiene. My husband can drop clothes anyway. God have mercy on me. You know, all of that. And then same, I think if you have followed our teachings, you also hear him say that there are times when I need to have conversation with him. Earlier years of our marriage, I wasn't patient. I could even bang the door. I could bump into him on an important meeting. I'm like, sweet, I want to talk to you now. I think that's a sign of rudeness. Anyways, but I'm not rude. You know, so what am I trying to say now? Those were things that we found ourselves doing at the earlier part of our marriage, but it's no longer there. You know, so just because he was the right person for me, I was the right person for him, doesn't mean that we did not have our imperfections. That's what I'm trying to say. So as much as I had my preference, yes, tall, handsome guy, Christian, a strong believer, wordite, he was a prayer, he's a prayer till now, and all that giver, doesn't mean that I did not also have the things I didn't like about him. Same thing with me, you know. So what I'm trying to say in essence is, the core thing you should look at when considering the right person, not the perfect person. They are not the same. The right person is the person teachable? Does the person have the potential to learn? For example, my husband, when I met him, he would dress in such a way that, you know, it's like, does he really have a huge fashion sense? You know, because sometimes he can wear check on check, you know, sometimes he gets it, sometimes he doesn't just get it, even though it's like he's one that taught me fashion. But anyway, I dash him, you know. But what I'm trying to say is that when I met him, I didn't like his fashion sense to an extent. And of course, I've already mentioned some instances of the things he didn't like about me. But was he teachable? Yes, he was. He had the ability to learn. I also was teachable. And let me tell you something, teachability grows. It improves. So when you meet the person and you find that the person has the potential to learn, has the ability to learn, the way the person receives information may not be in the way you want the person to receive it, but over time the person improves on how he wants to learn, how he or she wants to learn. Person improves on his or her ability to learn. So for my husband, he was teachable. I mean, he was good. I remember one time when I came around for one of his conferences he was organizing, and I didn't like what he wore, so he went extra miles to tell me that, oh, is there a way I can, tell him how to, dress next time and all of that. Even though we're in a relationship, he was open to receiving information, receiving correction. Some men will not, they don't have that kind of openness. And secondly, I remember when I also attended that his conference, I think I've shared this a couple of times. When he was teaching, the way he would talk about the grammar, the way he would, like, for example, maybe where he was supposed to use present tense, he would use past tense. We were supposed to use a particular pronoun, he used the wrong pronoun and all of that. I was shocked when after the conference he would ask me questions like, so what's that thing you need to to correct about me? And I'll be like, me, I was even like, I was feeling somehow insane, like your English, but I noticed the way he was really persistent on asking. And I had to like, oh, your English, I think you should correct this, correct that, and all of that. And he was open to receiving it. So that is one thing you need to look out for. Is the person teachable? Does the person have the potential to learn? And that is core, because the person can tick all of the boxes and you'll be amazed that in marriage you begin to see a lot of things and you're like, where did I miss it? So singles, in the bid of looking for the right spouse, understand that the person will not be perfect. The person will not be without flaws. So you need to choose the imperfections you can marry. And while you are the imperfection, while you choose imperfections you can marry, please note that the person will not change automatically in marriage, but if the person is willing to learn, the person can progressively grow. So where I was 11 years ago is not where I am today. It's not the kind of behavior I exhibit. Where my husband was 11 years ago, both the English and all things I mentioned, is not who he is now. So he has progressively changed. As long as the person is open to learn, the person will change. Now, what I'm trying to say in essence is just because the person is right for you doesn't mean the person is perfect. So you need to choose the imperfections you can marry. I'll say it again. Choose the imperfections you can marry. And even in the bid of choosing your imperfection, be open, be patient enough to allow the person grow, to allow the person develop. What is most important is that the person is willing to learn. So when the person is willing to learn, that's a good plus for you to get married to the person. But please, in the bid of choosing your preference, don't be perfect and lose out on potential. Thank you.